Many Magic the Gathering players have asked, is it worth it to buy the modern event deck? March of the Multitudes is a first for Wizards of the Coast, an event deck created for the modern format. As such, there's no history of past products to compare to or consider, and thus we must judge this solely on its own merit. With an MSRP of $75, this isn't a purchase most players will be making lightly. The event deck contains the following. To assemble the deck ourselves, we'd have to pay anywhere between $138 and $195. What impresses me most about this list is how little bulk there is. There's a little, and mostly in terms of its mana base, but it is a fairly complete deck list, where just a little would need to be done in the way of upgrading. Even if we eliminate all cards at or below $2, which means ignoring even Honor of the Pure, we get between $100 to $140, which means financially it is worth the $75 MSRP. Considering you could not put this together yourself for $75, and you've got over $75 of non-bulk financially, it is safe to say you are not losing any money, and probably walking away with a few extra dollars in the form of cards. Now, many players were expecting the deck to contain much-needed reprints of modern staples like Fetchlands, and were both surprised and disappointed when the deck list was revealed, and none of those were included. But I am going to argue in the opposite direction, which is, not only was it a smart move to not contain any Fetchlands or other needed reprints, but that if anything, the deck's biggest misfire is by including two cards of too high a value, Elspeth Knight-Errant and the Sword of Feast and Famine. Why? Because this event deck is one of the closest Wizards has ever made to meeting the original goal of playability. This deck can be played right out of the box. It is perfect for those without a modern deck and who wish to start in the format. Can you put a modern deck together for about $75? If you are looking at second-tier decks, strong decks that might not win a Pro Tour, but are still competitive enough to be played at your local game store, then yes, there's a few options, most notably a Burn or Red Deck Wins build. Other modern decks like Mono Blue Tron can be built in the $100 to $150 range, as can Soul Sisters Life Gain, and a little above that gets you possibly the strongest Tier 2 deck, Modern Blue Merfolk. So being able to spend only $75 to get a strong modern deck that can be played right out of the box is a big success on Wizards' part. If they had included so much as one Fetchland, most of us would never be able to find this for MSRP, and any additional high-priced rares would have further exacerbated things. So, the underwhelming response of the established modern player base worked in this deck's favor, by not only keeping the price at MSRP, but in some cases even lowering it below MSRP. So look at this, we have stores selling them off for cheap. I hate to point to online sales over buying in store, but when eBay and Amazon has these for as low as $53 with shipping included, we do eventually have to follow our wallets. Keep in mind, as always, these are US prices. Getting this for $53 is almost too good a deal to be true, and spending that to get an almost complete Tier 2 modern deck is what the format needs. A point of easy access. Getting back to Elspeth and the Sword. Both are worth about $20 and $25 respectively, and that's probably going to fall fast, but neither is typically found in a black-white tokens build. It surprises me that Wizards didn't swap these cards out for their equivalent in price, but with them in your deck, you are free to do so. It's almost like when you buy this deck, you are getting a $30 to maybe $40 credit for upgrading. Between these and some of the other rares like the Painlands, which are worth a couple bucks each, you might even be able to get a few extra dollars by selling or trading away these terrible sleeves. So what would we want to try and trade these cards away for? There's 3 playsets that are a priority for us to get. They are Thoughtseizes, currently at about $15 each, Godless Shrines, currently at about $10 each, and Auriok Champions, another $15 card. Another card this deck typically runs is Hero of Bladehold at $7, not too bad. You'd probably also want to complete your playsets of Tide Hollow Scullers and Inquisition of Kozilek's. Alright, what about the white-black elephant in the room, the much-desired playset of Marsh Flats? $40 each currently. Wow. The biggest problem is that upgrading to Fetchlands is very costly at this time. Hopefully, a future reprint in a blocked set will drive their prices down in the way it did for Shocks, but until that, my advice regarding Fetchlands is this. If you already have them, or some of them, then put them in. If you don't have them, they're at an all-time high and aren't worth it for a deck of this category, which is a newcomer's Tier 2 deck. If you fall in love with the deck and want to optimize it no matter the cost, then go for the Fetchlands. But if you just fall in love with the modern format, then you will need to decide if there's a Tier 1 deck that you might want to pursue instead. Determine your needs and your goals. Final thoughts? This deck is a surprise success from Wizards of the Coast. It is selling for less than MSRP. It contains a playable, competitive deck that is worth the cost for someone either new to the modern format or whose early attempts at modern decks have left them unsatisfied. Anyone interested in playing Modern but not knowing where to start can turn with confidence to the Modern event deck. I hope this video has been of some help to you. Please be sure to check out my other videos and remember to subscribe. Every time you hit subscribe, like, share, or even just leave a comment, it helps me to keep making these videos. So thank you, and suggestions are always welcome.